Yes. Welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we dive into the deep world of finance and retirement. I'm your host, Charles King, and today we have the privilege of hosting the incredible Dennis Lamar Handy. So grab your favorite beverage, kick back, and let's unravel the mysteries of finance and retirement with the man himself. Let me first tell you a little bit about our guest. Dennis Lamar Handy is a native of Athens, Georgia, and resides in Lithonia, Georgia. He is the founder of the D.L. Handy Foundation, Incorporated. His foundation focuses on providing the community with vital resources through volunteerism, raising and community and youth empowerment. His foundation has three pillars: empowerment, scholarship, and philanthropy. This year, the D.L. Handy Foundation focuses on mental awareness and recently hosted their third annual charity event, raising $8,000 for Friends of Advantage of Athens, a nonprofit that provides services for those in need of suffering with mental disorders and may not have financial stability to afford services. Most recently, his foundation was recognized for their efforts in mental health awareness on WSB TV channel 2, that is, a story covered by reporter Larry Spruill. In 2022, the foundation hosted its second annual charity event and raised over $10,000 for childhood cancer research. Mr. Handy is a full-time employee at Emory University as a senior financial analyst budget in Atlanta, Georgia. He teaches part-time in Atlanta Technical College, and you may find him anytime at his true passion with the funeral industry at working at Jackson McWhorter Funeral Home in Athens, Georgia. He is a 2019 graduate of Kennesaw State University with a Master of Business Administration and a 2011 graduate of Payne College, where he received his Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management in 2012. Lamar graduated from Gupton Jones College of Funeral Service with an associate's degree in funeral service. Mr. Handy is a member of the Epsilon Psi chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Incorporated. Some of his past and present organization involvements include a 2017 graduate of the Evelyn C. Neely Leadership Program in Athens, Georgia, the past president of the Athens Alumni Association of Payne College, a state member of the Georgia Funeral Service Practitioners Association, as well as a local member of the 7th District of Georgia Funeral Services Practitioners Association, where he holds the title of corresponding secretary. In 2019, Lamar led the Speak Out Against Violence essay competition, where 21 young people participated and 3 winners were recognized in 3 efforts. Most recently, he was recognized as one of the 2023 40 and under 40 inductees to Payne College. He lives by the motto, "No dream is too big to achieve," and one of his favorite scriptures is Philippians 4:13, "I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me." He's inspired by the quote, "One secret of success in life is for a man to be ready for his opportunity when it comes." Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Lamar Handy. How you doing, Mr. Handy?
Good evening. I'm well. How are you?
I am excellent. For all the things that I just read, was there anything that was missed?
No. It was great. You read more than what I thought you were going to read, so thank you.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and we're very honored to have you here on the show. So as an introduction, I'll just tell you, so in our opening segment, we're going to set the stage emphasizing why conversations about finance and retirement are crucial. So we'll introduce as we've already introduced you, we want to explore the key challenges individuals face in this dynamic landscape. So let's just jump into the nitty-gritty of financial planning. So tell us about financial planning, from budgeting to establishing emergency funds and cultivating savings habits. and how that's going to work for financial success?
So financial planning, is something that we sometimes think that it just comes naturally. I mean, that people are supposed to know exactly how to have financial planning skills, how to save money, how to budget, and just being realistically about it. That's a very, very hard thing to do in today's society. Especially have everything where groceries are going up, gas prices are steadily rising up and down. Um, People sometimes are barely able to pay their mortgage or their rent. So that's one reason why financial planning is so important for us to do. We're kind of living in a society where it's more of social media, so we'll sometimes spend our last to have that latest brand, that latest Gucci belt, Gucci shoes, or Prada, whatever it is, into the actual financial realm. And so when people think in that realm and say, well, can I really afford that? So I look at it as, if you're spending your last dollar on those items, then you really can't afford it. Being able to buy those items, it totally regards, and it's all up to making sure that you're able to purchase those items and still have money saved and able to pay. So one key thing, to a reason I look at financial planning is so important, is because it helps you save up for your future. A lot of times when we're young, in our 20s, 18, sometimes in our 30s, we sometimes, as generation population, especially sometimes as African Americans, we don't start looking at our financial stability and looking at financial wealth until we're in our 40s and 50s. And really at that time, not saying it's too late, but you've missed a whole portion of your beginning life of the money you could have saved for you to have, because at that age, when you're in your late 40s and your 50s, you're looking towards retirement age. So you're not looking at that age to be really, you're going to work hard, but you're not trying to work extra hard, making up for money that you didn't save within your 20s or 30s. And so that's why it's important to start now with financial planning and looking at a budget of how to save money. I kind of look back as when I was an 18-year-old high school student, graduating, going into college. First thing I want to do is get a credit card, because I felt like, hey, having this latest credit card, I have great credit. I can pay it back. I can just charge this thing up today, and I'll worry about paying it back next week or next month. I'm getting credit cards, applying for credit cards that come in the mail. I'm getting them, listen to my mom and dad tell me, like, hey, don't get those credit cards, they're gonna get you in trouble. But at that age, you're not really listening to what your parents tell you. You just want to have that credit card. You don't go out with your friends to the mall and be able to just swipe and purchase what you want to purchase. But then looking back, my parents were totally right. Those credit cards got me into the world of trouble. It got me to a situation in life where I had financial issues, where I had all these credit card balances, high credit card balances, where at one point I could barely even pay it back. So I had to really work hard to be able to save up money, get 2 or 3 jobs to be able to pay those credit card balances down. And then once I got myself back stable, I was able to learn how to pretty much use credit card. When you have a credit card and when you get in a situation that you're able to have that credit to spend on credit cards, it's best to only spend what you can pay back. One thing that I've learned, even looking through other people's, a lot of people these days, they use credit cards on a regular basis. I always advise a person to get 1 or 2 main credit cards that you can use for gas or for your grocery bill. But when you get those credit cards, if you're gonna swipe it and you're gonna spend $100 on that credit card today, make sure tomorrow you pay the $100 back on that credit card. Because the faster you pay it off, then that's going to help you from accumulating more debt, because it's normal, it's natural. Sometimes you'll swipe for a whole weekend, for a whole week, and then you don't really realize that you've accrued much more than what you can actually pay back. And so at that time, you may have accrued $500 or so over the weekend and over a whole week, and then you realize, well, I don't have the funds in my personal checking account to be able to pay this money back. And so that's why it's very important when you're looking at financial planning, to be able to know, what your limit is, what you can spend, especially using a credit card, and kind of use wise decisions with that. And so one thing that I have started doing myself when it comes to financial planning and budget is I use an Excel spreadsheet. Some people may say that's a lot of work, but it helps me. And so a friend, as a matter of fact, gave me this spreadsheet concept some years ago. And so it's one big spreadsheet file. It's by month, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, so forth. And so what I do is at the beginning of each month, some people, you may get paid on different bi-weekly, monthly. For myself, I'm paid monthly. So what I do is at the first of that month when I'm paid, I go to that spreadsheet. I go to my anticipated bills, what I anticipate to spend. So I know, I'm saying anticipated, but I know I'm gonna have mortgage, gonna have car note, gonna have insurance, grocery bills, even your entertainment, which you may think you may spend on entertainment, and then also miscellaneous. I put all my amounts in there, look and see what I think my anticipated spending is going to be for that month. Then I have my gross amount of what I make from my full-time job. Then I have a column for my part-time jobs. That gives me the total of everything that I anticipate to bring home for that month. Then what I do at the end of that month, once I start reconciling what I've spent, I go down to what I've actually spent. And so I know my mortgage and everything of that nature, that won't change, but my entertainment may change. You may have some months where you may go over your entertainment. And so what that helps me do is look and say, okay, where did I go wrong here? Okay, if I budgeted myself to say I was going to anticipate spending $200 in the month of January, but then when the month ends, I end up spending $300, then I know that in my entertainment line, I have went over $100 of what I'm supposed to spend. And that kind of helps you look and see exactly what you're spending, where you need to cut back at, where you need to save at more. And then you're able to kind of look at when you go to the next month, go back to the previous month to see exactly how your spending is between those 2 months. Um, Another thing that I do as well is I add up my gas for the month. So I drive a lot. I'm kind of driving up and down the road all the time. So I've started keeping my receipts in different envelopes. I have one for each month. And so what I do in that month, I add up all my receipts, how much I spend in gas, and I put that onto my spreadsheet of what I spent for that month when it comes to gas. And again, I may anticipate to spend $200 on gas this month, but I may end up spending $300 depending on how much I'm riding. And so again, that's a great way to kind of look at exactly to see exactly where you are and where you stand. I know I've talked to many different financial advisors, and they've told me that you know that when you're saving, you should have in your savings account 6 times of what you make. That's very hard for a lot of people because when you have bills, if you're single, living alone, you're paying everything yourself. So sometimes that's hard to have that amount of money saved up. And so what I always tell people is save what you can. I go by the concept my grandmother would tell me all the time. If you save $5 every week, that's something. If you save $20 a week, that's something. But I always save something. And then what I try to do now is I even have months where I challenge myself to save even more money. When I get my side job checks, I sometimes throw some of those checks into a savings account because that helps for a rainy day. Because unfortunately, we never ever know when rainy day is going to come. And that's one thing I've talked to friends about this is that I have this concept in my mind that I always want my savings account to look a certain way to be able to feel comfortable to say, hey, if something happens, I have this cushion here. I can go get it. When I'm not in that place in life, I start getting a little worried and I'm having to say, okay, what can I do to start saving? So then I start having aggressive saving for the month. And so one thing I've learned too as well over the years when it comes to financing and with budgeting is that it's always good to if you're starting off, you're making $40,000 and you're living that way for 2, 3 years, then you're blessed to be able to have an increase and you go up and start making $60,000 a year. They always say live under making $60,000. So if you're making $60,000 a year, live like you're only making 50,000 or 55,000. Because that extra money that you have there, you're able to save that money for a hard time, putting that towards the future. And again, a lot of times in this day and age and generation, we're just not looking at future. For instance, Social Security may not be there when we get Social Security age. And so a lot of us, we're not really thinking about saving and what it's going to look like in the long run when it comes to finances. We're looking at the now picture. So that's why we have to talk more about financial literacy, budgeting, and how to save money because we may not have the same advantages that our grandparents currently have
Wow.
today.
So would you suggest that and just doing this planning and budgeting that so when you put your actual numbers down, would you want to like just keep receipts and keep
Mhm.
them in orders of like maybe what's that, revenues, expenses, liabilities, or whatever have you, to make sure that your total is accurate and make sure that everything you put down is a real number? Or would you just want to keep the guesstimated number?
So what I do for myself is anything I spend when it comes to like eating out or entertainment for the month, I keep the receipts for the entire month. So I keep the receipts, and that you, as you mentioned, receipts for entertainment, for food, as well as for gas. And so what I do is I add all those up to ensure that I have my actuals correct. If, for example, I have a situation where I may have lost a receipt, threw the receipt away, I go then to my bank statements and go back and look and write down everything I've spent to get the actual numbers to make sure that I'm on target when it comes to
Oh
what I spent
wow.
for that month.
See, and I think that that's proof. That's proof for thought for a lot of people, because a lot of people really don't understand or know how to plan financially or how to budget or even think about that rainy day fund. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, as you say, that is probably hard. But I think learning some of these concepts is going to make it a whole lot easier for people in living their everyday life to kind of function a little bit better and a little bit easier in order to move forward. Uh, so when we, let's
Right.
say like transitioning careers, um, tell me like
Mhm.
if you are like changing lanes, through a career shift. How does that work financially, or how do you think our listeners should be thinking about how to plan or how to move forward when they're changing careers?
So, excuse me. I always look at it like this. So, even for me, I always look at situations when I start looking at changing my career or going to the next level. I'm always looking at it as a growth opportunity. So I'm never really gonna make a move when it comes to a job if it's not beneficial. If the money isn't talking the right thing for me to make me live, where I can be more comfortable, I'm not gonna take that chance. And so what I always do is I always tell people, when you're going into a job and you're getting a new job, um, I would say make sure it's a great opportunity for you and for your future. Know exactly what your end goal is going to be, and what type of skill set you're trying to accomplish when you go into that next job or that career. As well, I say, people always say, money isn't everything, and that more money, more problems. That is true. Of course, the more money you get, the more workload you could possibly have within that position. At the end of the day, anyone that goes into a new position or is promoted, you're going to want more money. And you're going to want to make sure that it makes sense for your career move. And so, with it, I always say just make sure you look at it, make sure that it's a feasible move for you. And I always tell people, when you go into that interview, into that job, and if the job says one number, for example, if it tells you it's going from 50K to 60K, always go in and ask for closest to the highest number. Of course, they're gonna tell you, well, we can't go that high. We can only go this amount, but always gauge the numbers. I've learned going through interviews that in my first interview, I never would ask what the pay range is, because a lot of times it's already on the actual posting of the job. So what I do if I get to that second level, I always ask the question at that time. I never ask, well, what's the pay rate? I always say, what's the pay range? Because that way I can kind of tell you exactly what's the range of the position, and you can know exactly what to ask for in that position. So I've always gone into pretty much when they come back and give me a number, I always go for the next number to see what happens. Then if they say, well, hey, we can't go that route, but we can go here. Then if you feel like it's a comfortable number to go with, then I say go with that number.
Okay, well, that's nice to learn how to negotiate.
I've learned that over the years. Negotiation is one great thing because sometimes, and I've done it to myself. Not negotiate, and then I kind of kick myself in the butt later on. It's like, well, why did I ask for a little bit more? Sometimes, so do negotiation is good. Just do it the correct way. Don't go into the first interview negotiating. Wait till you get to the second round, third round, and once they give you that range, then you can kind of start negotiating a little bit there.
Okay, so let's ask you this. Let's change this up a little bit. What if the change in careers is entrepreneurship? How do you think our listeners should approach that?
Um, so it's funny you say that because these days everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Um, my generation, younger, everyone wants to have their own business. But what a lot of people don't realize and understand what entrepreneurship is being able to take that risk to say this may work, this may not work. Um, it's a huge possibility that this could fail. Which means is I can take all my money, all my savings that I have, put into this business here, and then go totally broke within 2 months and not have anything at all. So that's the risk you take. So as an entrepreneur, I always tell people if you have a full-time job that you can keep and still be able to start your entrepreneurship, keep your full-time job because you got to think about it. When becoming an entrepreneur, you're responsible for your own health insurance, on life insurance. Those things are very, very expensive. A lot of times people can't afford those. So if you're putting all your money into your actual business, you don't have any money to take care of your insurance needs. So it's always very important to make sure that when you go into the entrepreneurship avenue, have a plan in place. Try if you can to have a good little amount of money saved up that where if all else fails and it doesn't work out and you do go broke through the business, you at least have some cushion to still be able to pay your bills and to provide the necessities you need for life.
Okay. So I hope our listeners are actually taking some notes because I think these are really good nuggets. As far as planning financially and moving forward, because I think beginning here in the year 2024, a lot of us are going to need to do this because we don't know what's going to come or what's going to happen. So it's good to start now rather than later.
Right.
Um, so let me just ask you a little bit about this, and I'm not sure if it's one of the things that you're one of your specialties, but let's talk a little bit about investing strategies. Do you have some tips on investing strategies and some ways of actually learning about different markets and how they navigate?
So that's funny you ask that question. So I haven't really got in depth with a lot of investments yet. This is kind of a very, very risky thing. I have started with the little small things like Robinhood, things of that nature. But I'm looking more in hopefully when the market gets better, to go into the investment market with flipping homes. That's one lucrative investment I think that you can always look into. But I think when it comes to if you're just now starting out with investments and you're not really comfortable, don't really know what to do, I think places like Robinhood or even going through a financial advisor in their company and looking into mutual funds and to see exactly what's the right way for you to go. Years ago, I think I looked into trying to start investing money, and at the time, my advisor said, "I don't think it's a good time for you to do this right now, because that's back when I was trying to purchase a home, and all my money was saved was into trying to get that home." And so at that time, it wasn't a good time. So I think the best thing is if you don't know a lot about investing, I would say, find you someone through Edward Jones, through other investment companies, and just have a conversation. Just say, hey, I'm looking to start investing. This is what I make, yearly or monthly. This is the money I have. Say, what's the best advice you can give me for investing?
Okay. Um, so let's say like when we got some people that are dreaming of their golden years,
Hmm.
and we want to think about retirement planning, and we want to think about financial literacy. Help us a little bit to navigate through that, and some things that we should start doing to actually plan to move in that direction.
So, and I guess this is maybe the old time way. But when I was growing up, all I kept hearing about was making sure you get a job to get a 50, your 401k. Make sure put money in 401k. Put the highest amount you possibly can. Make sure you have that money. Because in a lot of jobs with a 401k is whatever you put in, if you make it to the age, they match it. The one thing that I say can be the downside, depending on what company you work for, or what industry it is that sometimes with the 401k, they say, okay, you have this money when you turn 65, you can get this money here, but you have to always sometimes think back of your head, what if I don't make it to 65? We all pray and hope and we want to make it to retirement, but if I don't make it to that age, then what? And so then you start looking at it as if, well, I've worked my whole life and I won't even see the money. Somebody else will be left here to enjoy what I work for. And so you start looking, so it's like, what do I do in that situation? And that's kind of, I went through that recently. I worked for the state, became vested, got 10 years in with the state. That was my one goal. I wanted to make sure I became vested, to have the retirement guaranteed. And so when I left and went to a private institution, I had to leave that money there. But it'll still be mine one day. I'll pray I get to the age to receive it. But that crossed my mind, like, what do I do? Do I take this money out of this 401k here? And do I go put this money somewhere else into another investment? And then let it start making money that way? Or do I take it, get half of it, go invest in something else, flip the money, and then start saving that money and put it to my own savings account and save my own money myself for my retirement? And so you start thinking of all those different things of what to do in that situation. You have different things like the Roth account that's not taxed, and you have IRAs, all those different benefits. And so I think, one safeguard, I guess, to do is to, have some type of account set up through your job, putting in something into your retirement for sure, because you want to make sure you have the money in there, because it's also there that if you do decide to say, hey, I'm going to just take the money out and put it somewhere else and reinvest it, you at least have it. I haven't heard this too often, but I mean, I probably heard it maybe like 5% of my life where I've heard a person say that they're going to put money into their 401k. And to me, that's just not a good decision, because again, how we're living right now, when we get to retirement age, we may not have Social Security. And so it's very important for you to, look and see exactly what are the retirement options you have. And that's why nowadays you have a lot of people that have more than one job, because they're using some of their extra money they have to save up for retirement. Well, that's why you have more people going into investments where they're flipping homes and having side hustles, because they're looking at, let me make something to leave behind to have retirement for my future in case this doesn't work out for me.
Mm. So, long story short, I guess it sounds like what you're saying is that besides what you save with your company, with these different pension plans and so forth, is to just also put some extra money aside anyway.
Right, if you can. And sometimes it's hard because again, lives. And we all live every day. Bills are still coming. So you want to make sure you pay your bills too as well. But if you have any extra money or have any other side incomes, use that money to kind of also help be able to save for the future as well.
Okay. So if you want to, can you tell us a little bit about the financial journey from you from beginning to where you are now, how that worked, and how you navigated all of this to come to the success that you have?
And I'm gonna be straight candid to you. I have not always had the best financial literacy or the best financial sense, basically. You know, growing up, I guess I just, again, like I told you, just spend money. Got credit cards when I got out of high school and college. Was at Macy's. Back then, Macy's was popular. I'm in college. I'm swiping. Just swipe. I'm good to go. Mom give me money, dad give me money, so I'm good. Not really worried about paying the credit cards. That's like I take care of that. That's okay. And that's good. You know, not realizing that as time goes on, okay, those credit cards gonna continue to bounce, gonna continue to rise and rise and rise. Interest gonna come on that thing, and then go get to the point where you can't pay it back. And so that happened to me. Life happened, so I had to pay it back. I had to ask for money from my parents, like, "Hey, can you help me pay this back?" And so it really wasn't until I guess maybe I got my first job. So after college, I got out of college, got a degree in business management. At that time, I thought that but at that time the job market wasn't the best. Right now it's more of the technology world. So people who get out of college now or finish college in 2017, 18, if you're in technology engineering, you're gonna get a job just like that. 2011, the job market was still kind of shaky. So when I got out of college, um, I couldn't find a job. Business management, I'll be able to find a job just like that. So I moved back home to my hometown of Athens and went back to Kroger. Kroger's was where I worked when I was in high school and some when I was in college. My last year of college, I worked the overnight shift every other weekend in college, to be able to pay my rent because I was living off campus and to be able to put gas in my car and to help support myself. And so get out of college, going to Kroger, working, couldn't really find a job. Then I finally started applying for jobs. I still had the funeral home I was doing on weekends, so that shit was helping me out a little bit as well. I was living at home with my mom, so I was thankful and blessed. Didn't have to pay any bills, so I was, I was okay. I was good. And so then um, I got my first job at Athens Technical College as an actual technical and industrial administrative assistant for the dean. Very first job, one of my best supervisors I ever had in my life. Um, got that job only making like $21,000 a year. So if we look now, it's like, what can you do with $21,000 a year, making really nothing, honestly.
Right.
Nothing. At that time, I think I didn't have a car note or anything, so I was okay. But then the car I was driving that my dad had given me in high school, a Ford Expedition, drove it through college, everything. The car went out, so I had to go get me a car. Had to go sign for my first car. Never forget that. And I was still making $21,000 a year. So I had a car note of like $300 some dollars a month, maybe something like that. I had to pay the car note with $20,000 a year. Living at home, didn't really have any money. But I still had to make ends meet. I was like, I got to do what I got to do. I'm gonna save a little money, but I'm okay. So then I was blessed with opportunity. I stayed there for a year. I ended up applying for a job at Georgia Gwinnett College in Gwinnett County, and then I became an accountant in student accounts. So then I got a little increase, maybe like a little more of $10,000 more. So that helped me then. So I was good. But then I'm still young. Then I'm driving back and forth from Athens to Gwinnett every single day. Living in my mom's house. We're still not paying any bills for real. Still kind of just living, the good life. But then I'm starting to spend a little more. I'm like, okay, I got a little more money now, so I can kind of go out, have fun with my friends. And so I had started saving up money. I was saving. But I wasn't really thinking about moving on my own at the time. So then when my mom came to me, her and my sister, kind of like a double team match. It was like, you making better money now. You need to move out and get your own place. Now, my sister's living at home too. So I'm just like, well, you live here too. So what's going on? Like, you trying to put me out? What's going on? What's the real thing? So it's like, you making enough money, how much money you got saved up? So I told him what I got. You can afford this. So we out doing math calculation and everything. And I guess I was just kind of afraid. So I kind of took the leap. I said, okay, you know what? You're right. I can do this thing. So, I was smart. I said, okay, what can I start? Me, pencil and paper is my best friend. So I started writing down, like, okay, I bring home this amount of money. I got rent. I got water, electricity bill, car note. How much this is? Can I afford this? Okay, I do this. I'm left this amount of money. It's like, my mom was like, well, you can do that. But only thing I do is sacrifice. So what I did is I went and it's a place called American Freight in Gwinnett County. I'll never forget. I went and got my first furniture, got my sofa. But what I did is I end up paying on the sofa before I moved into the apartment. So I had already paid the sofa off. So when I moved in, that was one bill I did not have because I just wanted to make sure I did not have any excess bills that I didn't need, So, got my deposit, moved in. I was great. And so what I had to do is I had to sacrifice. So those weekends I would go out with my friends and just go, blow money. My apartment started being my party place. So my mom said, get you somewhere that you're gonna want to live. It's gonna be nice to where you will enjoy looking at your four walls and having a great time. And that's what I did. I made home my favorite place to be. And so then I said, okay, a little more income because I'm still not feeling as comfortable as I would like to be. And so that's when I got my teaching position and I started teaching part-time. I was like working at Georgia Gwinnett College full-time. At first, I really couldn't do it because I didn't even know my schedule. And I would, so matter of fact, from that job, I stayed in a year. Then I got a promotion to another position. And once I was promoted, at that point, that's when I was able to actually get a part-time job and start working there. And so from there, that's how I kind of started saving money. And I was able to kind of put myself in a better position, save up. And then I kind of was able to be blessed enough to kind of just move up from there.
So, help our audience to understand this part of your journey is that when you had these economic challenges, how did you cope with those?
It was rough. It was hard. Mind-boggling. A lot of times when you get into a financial rut, it affects your mental. A lot. You really have these mental breakdowns in your mind, like what is going on. The first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna look at your friends or people on social media and say, "Well, how are they living like this?" And I'm over here struggling this way. That's the first thing you're gonna do. And that's what I did too as well. But I went and got that part-time. I said, look, I'm gonna buckle down. I was like, things won't be like this always. I'm like, it's gonna change at some point. But I really just went in hard into saving money and just really being able to like just work and have money aside. Even if I saved $100, I was like, well, this extra $100 I have to where if extra something comes up, I can go pay it. But my main thing at that point is even if I only had $200 left after my bills were paid, long as I paid my necessities, I was good to go. If I had a little groceries in my refrigerator, all my bills were paid, then I was good to go. So I kind of just had to put myself on a plan and budget very, very well to know exactly how to move forward.
So that also had to have taken a lot of discipline as well, especially since in your younger days and just wanting to party so much that you had to sacrifice the partying in order to survive.
Oh yes, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Um, Even going back to when before I purchased my home, a lot of times, my friends were picking me like, you're not going anywhere. I was like, no. But I literally did hardcore aggressive saving, where I would put literally all my money I had and just save it and just live out with little money, because I knew I had a goal in mind. And so I was doing aggressive saving, like, I have to save this money. I have to. And it worked out for me. And that's hard sometimes, but sometimes that's one thing you have to do is like, when you really want something, like you just mentioned, discipline yourself. And if you can, if you have the means, do aggressive saving. But that always helps.
So the one thing that's been difficult in our community in Black culture, that is generational wealth. What advice can you give us about generational wealth, and how does that apply to you today?
Very much so. That's something that I have a conversation. Me and my brother-in-law, we talk about that often. And generational wealth, I look at it, especially looking at the African American community. Um, that's something that our ancestors weren't taught. Honestly, it's kind of like it's like we're taught to just work, 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 pay our bills, save a little money. That's it. Um, but it's kind of as well as knowing the kind of tricks of what people can put in of how to have generational wealth, and so that's when it comes to these days. Why I think it's so important for people to have life insurance, because a lot of times, you think about when you leave this earth, if you don't have any other money saved up, that money you leave back here to make sure that your funeral expenses are paid for, all your bills are paid, and you may have a little something left for your children, grandchildren, that can help them be able to sustain or to start some kind of business that they're able to sustain and carry on through generation to generation to generations. And so a lot of times now when you look at entrepreneurship and things of that nature, it's great to look at and say, hey, I'm doing this for myself, but I'm also doing this to leave a legacy and to leave generational wealth behind for others. Even if you don't have any children, you may have a niece or nephew or a close cousin or a sister or a brother. You're leaving that generational wealth to say, hey, this was started by Charles, but he left this for the people behind him to continue to have the same business and continue to make money. And even they decide to say, hey, I'm gonna sell this business and get the money, but they're still giving them a means to continue to keep that generational wealth. And that's kind of how many families were able to kind of keep that going on from one legacy to the next, are kind of sustaining. That's why I say a lot of people who have land, they won't give it up because they say this is what, such and such fought hard for. This is our generational wealth. If something ever happens and we sell this land, this could be the thing that's going to help our future continue to go on. And so that's why I think it's so important that we talk much more about generational wealth and financial literacy to learn the means and the ways of how to make money and also be able to have money for those that come behind us.
So we're going to pivot a little bit,
Mhm.
and I want you to tell our audience what early experiences shaped your views on finance.
Um, for me, it was so as children. Me and my sister, I have one sister. Um, we lived a very decent life. My parents, but we lived a very decent life. However, one thing that kind of stuck in my mind when it comes to finances and just work ethics, my mom, she worked 3 jobs. I had a stepmom that worked, constantly would work to 2 a.m. in the morning, with a cleaning service. I mean, just work, 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 work. I had a father who worked in a plant. I would see my dad go to work at 3 a.m. in the morning, get off at 3 p.m. See him come home in steel toe shoes, tired, back hurting, working these long hours just to provide for our family. And I kind of saw, that my parents may not have made the best financial decisions when it came to finances. And so I always look at them like, they always, preach to us about, finances, taking care of stuff. My dad telling me, you want to have a great job, go to college, get a degree, and work hard for yourself. And my grandma would tell me, save money, save a little $5 or $10. And so really just seeing, being able to watch my parents, how they work, and us somehow hearing them talk to us about their mistakes helped me learn more about how to make sure I didn't make the same mistakes and to have a little better understanding of finances and when it comes to financial literacy, for sure. And of course, no, I'm not perfect. I don't make the best decision, but I have a stable mind of finances and how to make sure that I'm in a decent situation when it comes to that.
That's called savviness.
Yes, you're right. Mhm. Very true. Yes.
Share with us some significant milestones in your financial journey.
Being able to purchase a home, right, well, during the pandemic and the end of the pandemic, 2021, pretty much, basically, that was a great milestone to me, because at the time wasn't easy, and trying to save up money was one of the hardest things to do in that journey. But that was one of my biggest accomplishments, I think, to this day, that I'm the most proud of, honestly.
Congratulations to you on that. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that that means that you're going to have many, many, many more to go in your young years.
Yes, sir. That's for sure.
How did you navigate financial challenges during your career shifts?
um, Pretty much having a plan. Um, a lot of times, what's so funny thing about this. So anytime I would get ready to make a career change, a career shift, I would always tell myself in my mind, in order to go to this job, I got to make between this amount and this amount. I would always tell myself that. And thankfully, like as I was thinking, I was like, that's how it has been going. Like whatever number I have given to myself, like I've been blessed enough to kind of get close to that number. And so for me, it's always planning. That's why I tell people Excel spreadsheets and notebooks are my best friends, because what I always do is when I'm pivoting to a new career and I know what I'm about to make, I start writing down things, say, okay, these are what my bills is, this is going to be my new amount I'm going to make, and I'll bring it to my home, every single month, every 2 weeks or whatnot. This is what I used to make. What's going to be the difference? So can I save this more money this month to be able to make sure I'm able to sustain? That's how I always kind of look at it. When I'm looking at, okay, what's going to be the difference of what I'm making now? What can I do differently to help myself save more money with this new.
So let me just ask you this. In that situation, was it balanced or was it kind of like just on a sliding scale where you were trying to keep it balanced?
Um, it was balanced. It was balanced. It was balanced. It was balanced. For me, I try to look at it not to. I always look at it when you make a career change. If you're going up, try not to tell myself to live like I'm making that amount. Still try to stay close as possible to what you were, even though it's hard. I mean, when you make a little more money, you want to spend a little more money. That's natural. That's how it goes. But in that aspect, I just always say, if we're gonna do that, just try to make sure we can at least save a little more. Even if it's $10 or $20 more, just increase the savings a little bit to kind of help for that rainy day. That's kind of how I always look at it.
Okay. And so now I'm going to go back to another thing here, another major point about finance. We know that today, personal finance in today's world is really a hard thing because you've got to make really tough, critical decisions when it comes to just living in general.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to the psychology of money, staying financially fit, and thinking about the future financial trends, what can you tell our audience some ways in which they should think about how to navigate those things?
One great thing, because finances is the number one thing that will really make a person's mind just kind of go haywire. Because you think about it, when a person's in financial debt, you're stressed out. You don't know how you're gonna take care of this bill, how you're gonna live in that state, how you're gonna put gas in the car. All those things are going through your mind while you're still trying to live, trying to work. So it's a lot take in as a human being. And so one good thing to look at too as well is, as they got saying, is don't try to live like the Joneses, because I know what the Joneses doing to kind of keep that. So when it comes to the psychological look of that, it's always looking at and living in your bubble, as they say, your lane. Do what works and what fits for you, because your financial means and streams may not be like your neighbors or your brother, sister, your best friend, whoever else. So you have to look at things of what's going to be most comfortably fit for you. What's your goal? Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? And so you look at your finances that way and the psychological means of it, then that kind of helps you stay more on track because your financial goal may not be the same financial goal as the person to your left or to your right. And so one good way to keep that is that, even though it's easy to do because we all have social media and things of that nature, is just know exactly what your goal is and just try to stay focused on your financial goal. And so I even say sometimes, is for 2024, it just started. Like, make a financial goal for yourself. You may say, I'm going to get out of credit card debt, or I'm going to pay more on my credit card this month, or I'm going to start saving instead of $50 a month, I'm gonna start saving $100 a month. Or if I get any extra, I'm gonna put an extra $20 into my savings account. Or put $5 into this drawer here. That kind of helps you with your financial aspects. One year, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine gave me and another friend this savings plan where she gave us all these envelopes. And so she was like, week one, you save $1. Week two, you save, I think, $2 or $4. So every week you increase your savings. And then in the year, you would take all that money you save and you either put in a savings account, do something with it. I started that one year and then I kind of got off track and then finished it up. But this year, I still have those envelopes and that bin, I'm going to start it back. I want to start putting money in those envelopes and see how much money can I save up for the year to see where I am at the end of 24. And so that's also a good thing. I also saw, I think maybe on Instagram or maybe it was TikTok, to where someone posted that if you, okay, I don't like carrying cash because when I carry cash, cash goes through my hands like water. So I don't like carrying cash. I hate, it's like my credit card, my card as well. I hate it. I'm frugal. But they said any $5. So if you spend if you break a $20 bill, for example, and you get back $15 and they give you a five, put that $5 in a shoebox. They say every $5 you get, then just kind of keep doing that and then see how much money you save up at the end of the year with that $5 you put in there. So those are some little nuggets you can kind of keep. And you may only save $1,000. But you think about it, that $1,000 when December comes can help buy you a Christmas, or help take care of some bills you've been, not want to pay out your other money. You like, well, hey, I save some money up, so I take $1,000 and pay that bill off, and I'm good to go.
So, in summation, can you give those financial tips once again to our audience? And y'all need to please listen because I think these things that he's saying is really, really good.
Yes. So the first one I would say, buy you like a container. And you put envelopes. So, for example, you can do it however you want to do it. You can do it by week, do it by week or every 2 weeks, however you want to do it. But the one my friend gave me, it was put, I think, $1 the first week. Then I think she increased to $2 the second week. And she may have skipped three and then put $4 the third week. And so as she kind of keeps pushing it up, I think in increments, I think of $2 maybe or more. But you kind of keep saving, you keep going more and more and more each week. And then in the year, you look into that actual box to see how much money you've saved up. Another tip would be is you may have cash in your pocket and you may get back a $5 bill, or you may just have $5. Every time you get $5, throw that $5 into a shoebox, and just kind of put it somewhere. Put it somewhere under your bed where you want be looking for it all the time. And just kind of throw that $5 in there, and then you may look. Maybe you may say at a 6-month mark, I'm going to look in here and see how much money I've saved up this $5. Or you may do it in the year, and you look at it. If you save $1,000 at the end of 12 months, you make it say, hey, well, I'm gonna take this $1,000 and help buy my Christmas, or I'm gonna take this and pay off a bill that I really did not want to use my personal money I use from working. I'm gonna use this money to pay that bill off, and you're good to go. Another thing to do as well is any extra money that you make, increase your savings. What I always try to tell myself is, out of one of my part-time checks I get, I always put something from that check in the savings. even if it's $20. To me, it's like, okay, I'm saving something from this check. Because every little $10, $25 you save, it adds up to something. And so those little small tips will be easy. And again, everyone's financial situation is different. So if this person to the right is saving $100 and you're only saving 20, it's okay because you're saving something. Start somewhere, because when my savings first started, I only did $5. And sometimes my saving changes based on what I have going on at that time or during that month. But I just say, I always tell people, save something. Saving something is better than saving anything at all.
And let's talk about balancing risk. How do
Mhm.
you balance risk and return in your investment portfolio?
And as I mentioned, I'm really not a huge risk taker. Not at all. So for me, I only put in really what I can afford to lose. Again, this year, I plan to get more into the investment aspect. I really haven't been into it very, very deeply. So when I have done it, it's been very, very minimal. And of course, the less you put in, the less you're going to get back in return. So you have to put in a little bit more. So that's why this year, one of my goals is to, research more with investments to see exactly what investment fits me best. Because again, my investment may be some investment that you look into. We may have two different avenues we're going towards. So I always tell investment that fits your situation the best.
Now, now this is a realistic question.
Mhm.
I want you to give our audience some advice on creating a realistic retirement budget.
Um, Realistic retirement budget. Um, Great question. So, with that, I will honestly say, I think the safest avenue is in your jobs. With your actual, 401k, that's the kind of, to me, that's the safest way to go when it comes to saving. But I will say, with your retirement saving for retirement, again, that is hard because again, life does life every single day. And so sometimes you're not able to put in as much into a savings. But what I will say is, you know, kind of look at what you're bringing home. And some people may do it this way. You may say, okay, if they tell you to put in 6% for your retirement plan every single month, every 2 weeks, or however you get paid, you may look at what you make and say, okay, well, I'm going to put that amount into my actual 401k. I'm going to take maybe 1.5 or 2% and save myself in a different account. And that may be hard based on what your bills look like. And so with that, I really say if you're gonna save on your own for retirement, I would say you have to look at exactly what your expenses and revenue looks like and look at what's comfortable for you. Because again, you are trying to save for the future, but at the same time, you have to also take care of the now as well. And so I tell people really your retirement plan is going to be personal because it's going to be based on what you can do, because you really can't look at your retirement savings and put it to someone else because your situation is going to be totally different. So I would say, if you can save something, if you don't have a investment plan or a 401k, but if you do and you still want to save something extra, then I tell people as well is to look at your expenses and your revenues and look and see what you can afford to save for that time frame.
And this will probably be the final question that I ask you. But so with that, with the realistic retirement budget, how do you consider Social Security to be a part of that retirement planning?
So as I mentioned earlier, I think we all will look, one day I get my Social Security, I'm gonna have some kind of money. But the way it's looking currently right now, we may not age. And so you have to kind of start thinking in that concept is if I don't have Social Security, then what's gonna happen? You even see now sometimes why you hear some of the older people who retired go back and get second jobs again. They go work part time because they say, my check isn't enough for me to live off of. I have to have something else. So in that regards, we are who are willing and able and health wise we can. If you can work, they say work now, make all the money you can right now, and save all the money you can. That's possibly for you to have in case you don't have Social Security. And so looking at that right now, it's kind of to tell people that if you are able to have some kind of side hustle, we can say use that money to save to put up for what you could possibly think you may get from Social Security. Because again, when we get to the age, we may not have Social Security. And so that's why it's always good to, if you can grind and hustle hard now, hustle while you can now and save the money for the future. So when you get to that age, you can relax and go travel the world and just do what you want to do at that point.
Well, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience that's going to be a benefit as to financial planning, retirement, and budgeting?
I would tell you just to get your own. You don't have to use the concepts that I shared with you today, but just think about what works best for you. If that's, get some type of online system to use, or using the Excel spreadsheet, or writing down everything, or whatever works for you. I would just say put some type of budgeting plan in place. We have a lot of times where, some of my friends have had this thing where my friends say, okay, I'm going to do a no spend January where, I'm only going to spend on my necessities. I'm not going to spend any money on entertainment. And that can be very, very hard, especially if you like to go out, like to have fun. It's a hard thing. But I would just say for anyone, just to let's become more financially aware. And let's take kind of heed and kind of look at our finances a little more. And, let's start speaking and talking to the younger generation about the importance of finances and generational wealth. Because if we don't speak about that, we don't teach that, we don't have that, then where are we going to be in the next 10, 20 years? So I would just say that just, get your own financial plan together, your own budgeting plan, look at your finances, and let's just try our best. Let's still live, have a great time, let's spend if you want, but also make sure we save at the same time. I tell my friends this year that I can't go on any trip with them that's not planned. So if we have planned in January, I can't go. Um, so I've told them that. So we are taking heed to my friends are hitting me now about we want to go here. Tell me now so we can plan accordingly, because if I can't plan this thing, I can't go on.
No
So
frivolous spending.
now I'm trying to decrease that as much as possible. Yes, I haven't did the best in January. I'm trying to get there. I always tell myself March is my worst month because March is my birthday, and I feel like every single weekend I'm doing something. So that's always like a wash to me. But this year I'm gonna challenge myself that even though I feel like it is a wash, to still at the beginning of the month to put something back on more and save that, then I feel more comfortable. I thought my
That's
bills was paid.
that's good advice, and I want to thank you for blessing us with your presence today on the show. And I hope this is not the last time, because the next time you come back, I want to talk more about your organization that you have going. Um,
Yes, that'll be great.
because I think that's in just exploring where you've been with entrepreneurship, that too is a wonderful thing that people should know about.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. I am honored. It was my pleasure to come here today, and I'm truly looking forward to the next time as well. So thank you so much, Mr. King. I do appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And so thank you all again. That once the people that are out there watching the show, you can always go to our YouTube channel where you can subscribe and get the notifications for all shows that are coming. You can also go back and watch all the previous shows. And so I'd like to thank you all, as well as Mr. Handy, for spending the time with us. And again, you all have a great evening and have a great weekend.
Thank you all again. Thank you.